Next, I'm very pleased that we will have our annual update from the Career and Technical Education Business Advisory Committee. We're always so grateful for our advisory committees and all of the time, effort, and energy they give in advising the board and the work in a number of our areas. So I will turn it over to them for their update.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, colleagues, and guests. Today, we are fortunate enough to have a dedicated business community that continues to support our CTE students and programs in Henrico. During a recent state audit, it was highlighted by the Department of Education that the Business CTE Advisory Council was one of the most active they had seen. I'm joined tonight by our chair, Mr. Tyson Bates, our vice chair, Mr. Charles Tilley, and our secretary, Mr. Chris Smith. As I said, it's an honor to be here to talk about the efforts, the contributions, and the passion of these members of this committee. We will focus tonight on the work that has been done during the 22-23 school year. The committee is truly dedicated to helping make sure our students have the best CTE opportunities possible. They believe in the program, they believe in our school system, but most importantly, they believe in our students. The mission of the Business Advisory Committee is to truly make sure our students graduate life ready, which is one of the objectives in the strategic plan for Henrico. In the world of CTE, we are fortunate that the BAC Committee continues to guide us. Our committee members continue to seek out opportunities for our teachers and our students to continue to grow. For members of the committee, this is more than an opportunity to serve. It's an opportunity to build the community, because each member of the community, they see the direct correlation to the quality of our CTE programs, which translates to the economic success of the community. The main goal of this committee is not to focus on what we have done, but to focus on continuous improvement. While it's important to highlight the successes of CTE, it's more important for the committee to push us to improve. In the fall of 2020, the BAC Committee came up with a three-pronged approach to ensure that our students were getting the opportunities and the instruction needed to be ready to graduate, enrolled, enlisted, and/or employed. This three-pronged approach aligns itself directly with the strategic plan, and the focus is on it continuously revisited at each meeting. We have continued this three-pronged approach to ensure that the work of the committee is focused and aligned with the missions and goals of Henrico County Public Schools. I will now turn the presentation over to Mr. Tyson Bates, Chair of the Career and Technical Education Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much for having us this evening. I would first like to introduce the officers of the CTE Business Committee. First, we have Charles Tilley with Quinn Evans Architects, Chris Smith with Bill Talley Ford, and then myself, Tyson Bates, with CBT Contracting. So we have a very active committee. Everybody enjoys coming. I know I have it marked for the next year, every Tuesday, second Tuesday of every month, and we really enjoy coming out. Our board has a goal to support teachers, students, in all 17 of our programs, career clusters that CTE supports. While the goal of our committee is to focus on CTE, the committee itself has to be very broad, because the scope of the CTE touches all areas of the workforce and adult education. All of the members, because of their intrinsic value perceived through engagement, the reward is definitely prominent in involvement. Our mission drives what we do and how we do it. The mission is essential to the success of the students in the CTE, but also the success of the businesses and the community. In a time that job-ready skills are so important, it's imperative that we are actively engaged in helping ensure success of the program. Henrico is known as a leader in the CTE, not only in the state, but the country, and the committee is excited to be a part of that success. Utilizing a three-pronged approach, we are able to divide our committee into subcommittees to maximize the use of our time, ensuring members feel that they are contributing and successful in the mission. The 3 subcommittees are focused promoting CTE, evaluating the effectiveness of the current programs, how to meet the current demands. With the focus on work-based learning opportunities, more students are able to graduate high school with a better understanding of what is next. With the goal of having every student graduated, enrolled, or enlisted, employed. Sorry, I'll start that over. The goal is to have every student enrolled, enlisted, and/or employed. It is more important than ever to help students have an opportunity to experience the future, can be and graduate life-ready experiences. This ensures both the hard skills needed for the world of work as well as the soft skills needed for the success in life. With the expansion of the ACE Center CTE, we will be able to grow and expand program offerings. We are excited to help guide the growth of providing needed information and assistance for in-demand career opportunities today and in the future. CTE has always been flexible to growth and change in today's workplace, and not only giving essential skills, but survival skills for companies. The 3 signature events that Henrico CTE program participates or puts on, the Life Ready Expo, the Career Rodeo, and the Letter of Intent Signing Day. They all continue to set the bar around the country. We are excited that the General Assembly has made the 4th Wednesday in April the official Letter of Intent Signing Day for the state of Virginia. It was acknowledged that this effort started in Henrico County has spread not just in Virginia, but across the entire country. I will now turn the presentation back over to Matt.
Okay, thank you. Charles or Chris?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Good evening. Each meeting has a program highlighting what is happening in various CTE classes. We have an opportunity to learn what we can improve, what is needed, what opportunities are there for the students, and how can the committees support those activities. The goal is not to dictate what's happening in the programs, but to provide the opportunity to support the needs of Henrico schools when it comes to CTE meetings and the needs of the business and industry as well, and meeting the mission goals of Henrico County schools. So, as we begin to look at next year, there's 2 considerations that the CTE Advisory Committee believe will be key to continue the success of the programs and the growth. And one of those, we believe there will need to be additional staff, not only to meet the needs of the current students and the current curriculums, but also the new programs as space becomes available. We certainly want to make sure that every student that would like to have knowledge in a certain area, that they have that opportunity to pursue that. And then as space becomes available for new programs, it's important that we adequately staff those new programs as well. Number 2, we are certainly appreciative of the support from Henrico County Schools to ensure that the programs have the needed resources and the equipment to teach the competencies that are needed by the business and the industry. We're so appreciative of the continued support of the CTE programs, but we know that we must stay on the cutting edge. For example, I will tell you that in the Ford world, I'm a Ford dealer, in the Ford world, corporate Ford has a real emphasis on life-ready students. And there are goals now for Ford dealers to employ students and recent graduates, as specifically talking about technicians. And Ford makes it lucrative if you do and not lucrative if you don't. What I want to tell you is that because of your commitment to this program and your partnerships, because we work with different school districts, Henrico County students have an edge when they're going out to compete for these jobs. So we definitely thank you for the support of that. Our role in this is also to help support by working with other business and industry partners to help provide access to new and emerging technologies. Again, for example, word on the street, electric vehicles are close. So we want to make sure that our students have access to learn the basics about electric vehicles. And that's what we hope to do as a committee, things like that the technology is available to your students. So now, I think I'm going to turn it over to
Tyson comes back on this.
Tyson.
There you go. As I mentioned earlier, our committee is always excited when we come around. We're not just there to listen. We truly feel like we have a purpose and that we have a mission. Beyond the subcommittee work, we have the opportunity to learn from staff on how to get involved with the students and opportunities offered. Rather, it is to prepare for events like the Career Rodeo that was in February or the Letter of Intent Signing Day. The CTE staff is always ready to engage and participate.
On behalf of the Business Advisory Council, we would like to thank the school board for making the future so bright for CTE students in Henrico. The vision to meet the needs of students interested in CTE would not be possible without your continued support and that of the county. Having a learning environment that is state-of-the-art is more than just staffing or equipment. It's about a facility that truly lends itself to learning in an environment that is more than just a classroom. We are excited that Henrico County will be opening 3 extensive renovations to the Highland Springs A Center, the Hermitage A Center, and the A Center at Virginia Randolph very soon. Many of the efforts to revision CTE and the role it has in the well-rounded educational program are starting to pay dividends to the business community as well as the community at large. It's evident to us that Henrico County CTE is a well-known leader, but to continue being at the forefront, it takes continued support of the school board and the administration. As a part of the federal CTE requirement, part of the federal CTE requirement, staff must develop a plan each year to help guide the work and ensure not only that we're meeting the needs of our students, but also recognizing and addressing any weaknesses identified. Here we're listing some of the highlights of the local plan that we'll be focusing on this year as we're trying to help Mac and his team expand to healthcare programming, technology-related programs, and construction-related program offerings. This local plan is established to help us focus our work as a business advisory council and to help us serve as a roadmap for the ACE leadership staff. We continue utilizing that 3-prong approach that Tyson was talking about in our meeting structure so that we are ensuring that we're providing meaningful input and support.
So as I mentioned, Henrico strives to be the leader in CTE efforts. There's several programs that you may not know about that we also participate in. That's the adult education program over at Regency Mall, where we help. It's more focused on adults than the children. And then we also have the home building project in which the students actually that are in the trade schools get to go out and they build a home for someone, and we get to go out there and help them participate in it. We all get to walk the projects and really enjoy it. But last but not least, we could do none of this without Mac Baden, our fearless leader. So he's always engaged and ready to participate, ready to answer questions, and ready to talk to anybody. So we really appreciate all he does. Thank you.
Thank y'all. We'll be happy to answer any questions about the work the committee does and the support that it brings for our programs. But I will say this on the record, this is the most dedicated group of employers I've ever met, and they truly do care about our kids. And that is, to me, you can't put a price tag on that. So.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Baten, Mr. Tilley, Mr. Bates, and Mr. Smith for presenting to us today. I'm certain board members are very excited to thank you for your volunteerism and support and helping to ensure that our students and our business community, we're all life ready, right? And I think I'm going to start with Mrs. Shea, who is our Business Advisory Committee board representative. Mrs. Shea.
Thank you, Ms. Kinsella. It's great to see familiar and friendly faces at the podium today. Thank you for all the work that all of y'all do. It's our partnership with our businesses that really give teeth to all the ideas and implementation that MAC has. Without partnerships with our businesses, it's another class, but with partnerships with our businesses, it's really real world and launching our students into their careers. So I'll keep it short because I get to see y'all every month, but thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the tremendous work. We're so excited about Regency and about the new center's opening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shea. Mrs. Ogburn.
Sure. Thank you all. I'll echo what the others have said, but for your service to the community, but to this committee, but also that means to our programs, to our students. We can't do what we do without your help and with, as Marcy said, that partnership. But I noticed as I was looking at this, this presentation, but also to all of your words, the word opportunity comes over and over and over again, which is obviously your focus. And I look at it as sort of a two-pronged. It's not only an opportunity for our students, but for our business partners to benefit from these kids coming out ready. And I would hope that you look at it as a cost savings to you to have to not train them as much as you would and to have a workforce that is ready to go from day one and need less support, hopefully, over the years. But we can't know what we need until we work with y'all to get that information. So it really is a win-win on both sides, and I'm so appreciative of that. But I mean, we had a HEF board meeting at the adult space the other night, and the folks there got a tour, and they were so impressed with that part of what's going on. They learned more from Mac about what's going on, and after Mac and the group left to go to another thing, they were double duty that night. But anyway, one of the members of the HEF board asked how our board and how the staff feels about the ACE Center programs growing so much and that partnership mentality. And, you know, I just don't think any of us could be more excited about what's coming for our kids. You know, that's the amazing thing, is that we used to, as Mrs. Kinsella will say, anytime you give her the opportunity, we were turning away 1,000 kids, and we're not going to have to do that anymore. And it's with your leadership that that's happening. So thank you all very much, and I will pass it on.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ogburn, and you're right. Not much makes me happier than knowing that we're going to be meeting the needs of students that we were not previously meeting. So with that said, Ms. Atkins, do you have any questions or comments?
I do, Mr. Bates, Mr. Tilley, and Mr. Smith. I want to thank you for your leadership and for being an example. I know that there's a whole group that meets to talk about the future. You know, we're using our presence and looking back at our past to help guide us for where we want to be. And it takes strong leadership to do that in your separate entities and agencies, and especially on the committee. And thank you for taking the time to be here to express that. That's equally important to share the good news. And it's equally important to bring solutions to challenges and not just bring the challenges. And I'm so grateful with your leadership that that is happening. And there are no more words that I can express about Mr. Baten himself, except that his work speaks for him and his relationships help. And so that's with you, and that's the trusting relationship that we can clearly see here. And so ever so grateful for you being you being a leader and being an example. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Atkins. And now Reverend Cooper, who is also, I mean, our entire board is involved with our CTE program, but Reverend Cooper also sits on the Henrico County Vocational Technical Education Committee too. So what questions and comments do you have?
Well, I'm not going to reconvey the pleasantries of my colleagues, but I do concur with their comments. But Mac, if you could do me one favor, can you kind of share with us the process that occurred for the legislature to denote that as a statewide day? Because, I mean, I think that's phenomenal. We really should have clapped because, again, it shows that we are.
We can still clap.
I mean, because I think, again, we do want to be leaders in our industry, and that is definitely something that shows our commitment to the community and our students, how important vocational education is. So can you just kind of give us the backstory on that?
Well, as you know, in 2018, we started with an idea here in Henrico to recognize our students that were going into the workforce. When you think about our young people, I had the opportunity to address the legislation, and which that was an interesting thing. This is a piece of cake when you stand up there for that 2 minutes and the timer's going on. But it was really powerful because, like I shared with them, when you see a young person who we know we need them in the workforce, and they would say when they were graduating, I'm just going to go to work, and they would hang their head like they had done something wrong and let us down. That was our cue to say we need to do something to help change that mindset. That's where the growth of the signing day came from. The way it ended up with legislation is actually interesting. One of our legislators was one of my former students, and we were talking one day, and he was talking about his electronics teachers years ago who taught him stuff that when he went into the military, he got out of all these classes because he knew all this electronics. And I looked at him and said, John, who was your electronics teacher? And he goes, some guy by the name of Mac Baton. And I go, so I looked a little different, but he was the driver behind that because he caught on to the value that this is something that really everybody needs to do. And when it was presented to the legislation at the end, it did pass 100% flying colors. And the comments basically were, how could we not support our students when they are our future? So I thought that was a powerful statement at the end of the conversation.
Thank you for sharing that story. And again, congratulations. Thank you all for your service. Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Reverend Cooper. I have a question, and I don't know which one of you wants to answer it, but anyone, just feel free to jump forward. When you talk about how we can support you or support our students, right? And we're talking about staff. Can you elaborate on not just staff to expand? Because okay, I've attended the meeting, so I'm just going to be clear. I've attended the meeting, so I just want to hear from you exactly what our struggles are with finding staff for the CTE program, like our current programming as well as our expansion.
So I think some of it is just getting the message out to our business partners. I work in construction. Every day I hear about how the companies are willing to pay for training programs and aids. And so I think getting some of the staff, as we grow in almost a business development, our network, more companies can try and help support. But right now we need participation with the career rodeo. Signing day needs volunteers. And then we also have open spots on our committee itself. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
I think maybe more members even want to speak. Do you have something you want to say?
I just wanted to add that,
Mr. Tilley?
it's hard to find teachers to start with, and then it's even doubly hard to find a teacher that's qualified to teach some trade or IT or those kind of things. And so looking for policy solutions that, and I don't know any of these kind of legal details, but looking for things that can kind of work with the system that we have and try to bring people to the classroom who might not be your typical teacher or somebody that's been lifelong teacher. Some way that's got to be, brought into the mix. And that's not something that the business advisory knows that much about, but just something that, working to build the pipeline of teachers, I think is probably.
Mr. Baton, can you refresh my memory? Do we have career ladder for CTE?
Yes, we do.
Do you think that's going to help? I mean, just to.
Well, I think we've got to be creative with our approach to addressing the needs, because in today's marketplace, when the skill set that our students have is highly demand, which means that the people that have this skill set are also in high demand. Well, I will say that our pay structure is there, and it works great for a lot of different reasons. I can tell you there were times when a lot of school divisions were cutting teachers' pay, and because of our pay structure, we were able to maintain. At this point in time, I think it's probably a much bigger level than Henrico and Henrico schools and Henrico County, more of a state-driven function. We know these are high-demand areas. What can the state do or the federal government do to supplement these incomes, and in other words, whether it's a tax break or maybe some kind of bonus that this can come from that level, then it can be, in my personal opinion, it could fluctuate based, yes, today we need auto mechanics, tomorrow we might need, English teachers. It's hard to say, but once you adjust a pay scale, you kind of live there, but in the world of some of these trades, it's going to go up and down. But I think what we've got to do now is try to figure out how to get those people in the classroom, which also means we've got to also capitalize on the advantages of teaching. I don't think, when you look at the accomplishments that we've accomplished and go out to Regency and see our teachers working with their students, they would not go back to what they were doing because they love what they're doing. Yes, they still have to make the payments at the end of the month, but the county has been, the 8.2% is been great. I mean, everybody's excited. So there's a lot of things, but I think what really has to happen is much bigger. As a society, we've got to start to value some of these pieces and make it rewarding for a teacher with the skill set to come into the classroom and deliver.
Okay, so some of what you said, since we've done great things with our proposed budget, the 8.2%, so I'm hearing legislative advocacy. And that would be what, a division level from school board members as well as you, Dr. Cashwell?
And I would note that all through this session, that advocacy did occur, and certainly the board's legislative priorities really teed us up to be able to get out and talk about, again, some of the, changes we'd like to see to provide more flexibility when it comes to getting folks into the classroom on a non-traditional track, whether it's in the CTE arena or any other arena for that matter. We know we have a number of qualified candidates who may not be licensed teachers, so looking at provisionally licensed pathways and those sorts of things. Compensation to be able to, for divisions to offset that cost for individuals. Our HR team was all over that, and I know our voices were heard. And we saw some micro change there, but I know this is a state level priority that's been raised a number of times, so continuing to look for creative solutions there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cashwell. I know you guys will take that back to the Business Advisory Committee, that response, as well as we hear you and we will support you any way we can. Thank you so much for your presentation and for all the work you do. Really, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Very grateful.